The Knicks are out here. They're performing to their best ability. And the only
Mm-hmm.
thing I'm really not too fond of is the fact that we keep giving up in these second halves. I don't want to say give up, but we're not putting maximum effort in trying to come back at the end of these games. This is the Knicks State of Mind podcast. I'm your host, Quis, joined by my co-host, Inf.
How's it going?
And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the recent loss the Knicks were handed. We were coming into the game on a 3-game win streak, and we thought, or at least I thought, we were going to beat the Thunder pretty handedly. We won against the Hawks, we won against the Pacers, and we also won against the Jazz. Teams that I thought were a lot better than the Thunder. So for us to lose, I was a little bit disappointed in that. What about you, Inf? How did you feel?
I was surprised. I mean, granted, we were on a nice high. When's the last time the Knicks won 3 games in a row? I don't know. So I knew we were gonna get it to a point where a loss was gonna happen.
Yeah, but for it to be against the Thunder, to me, that's the biggest thing I'm kind of disappointed in. Even though the Thunder do have a nice young team, they got Dort, they got SGA, they've got a few other players that are pretty good upcoming NBA players. I still think we had a squad that should have went out there and won. But unfortunately, it seems like in these losses, the Knicks just in the second half, it just falls apart, especially if our shots aren't going down consistently.
Absolutely, we're not making the right adjustments, or we're not playing who we need to play. I mean, granted, Coach Thibodeau, he's been doing pretty decent, because he does play a big role in the fact that we have won 3 games in a row. However, just seeing how we came out strong in the first quarter, and then in the second quarter, he made the right adjustments because we started off the second quarter. They were on like a 2-18 run. He was able to pretty much close most of the gap by the end of the second half. We were tied up. But then in the second half, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know what he did, but it doesn't seem like he did much to make any adjustments.
The scoring system was a little weird for that game because going into halftime, I think we were up, and then coming out of halftime, I think it was either tied or we ended up being down one. So they probably explained that a little bit more coming out of halftime. I just think in the beginning we let Al Horford kind of keep that team alive. We, like you said, had a pretty good first quarter, but Al Horford was hitting outside shots. I would have hoped Mitchell Robinson kind of got into his shooting space a little bit on some of his shots. There was a wide open three where he was trailing and they were able to find him. I can't, knock Mitchell Robinson for that because it was in transition and things get a little bit messy. But if we were able to keep Horford under wraps in that first quarter, I think we would have given ourselves a much larger cushion to work with. And like you said, in the second quarter, the Thunder, they finally got it going and they were able to close the gap. I think our second unit allowed them to get into a groove, and we were a little bit stagnant with that second unit. Tibbs did bring the starters back in towards the end, and we were able to keep it close. But then towards the second half, it was just shots weren't going down, and it seems like the team, whenever the shots aren't going down, whenever we're not able to shoot at a high clip, you see the team kind of break apart defensively, and you see a lot of lapses out there.
That goes back to what I always say. Like the famous quote is that defense leads to offense, but with the Knicks, we know offense leads to defense. When they see shots going in, that's when we're locking people up. Once I start missing, it's like nobody even wants to play. And the thing with Al Horford, like I was mentioning about the adjustments he was making early on, Al Horford scored about 15 points in the first half. And then he ended the game with how many points? 15. Like Thibodeau made the adjustments he needed to make when it came to Al Horford being the one dominating us. But when it came to Shy, nothing was done. And then Hamadou
Yeah,
Diallo dropping
Diallo.
20. And then that one steal that he got off Randall was just where we just inbounded the ball. Randall's just like slowly, casually dribbling, not realizing that Diallo's right
Right
behind
behind
him
him,
and
yeah.
gets a heat and steal and dunk. It's just like those are the kind of things where if I'm Thibodeau, it doesn't matter if Randall's our main player. I'm pulling Randall out because I'm like, you need to be aware of what's going on if you even want to win this game.
How many turnovers did he have for the game? Because that's been an Achilles heel, I think. Outside of, the points, the rebounds, the assists, he's doing great there. But turnovers, I think he's
Yes.
averaging like over 5.
I mean, normally, yeah, he's doing bad. Against OKC, he only had 2
Okay, so
turnovers.
he's coming back down.
It was like against the Jazz, he had 5. Um, against Atlanta, he had 7. So his turnovers have been terrible, but against OKC, they weren't. It was just the type of turnovers he had.
Yeah.
One of those turnovers, like I mentioned, didn't even need to happen. If you're just aware of what's going on, that turnover doesn't happen. But it is what it is.
Also, with Randall, I don't think he had a terrible game. He started the game with some difficulty trying to get his shot to drop. This is the second time we've seen that happen in the first half. And the last time I had it happened, I think it was against the Hawks. I might be mistaken, but at least the team was able to kind of carry the load and carry the burden. We saw that somewhat in this game as well, but RJ didn't have as good of a shooting night that I would have liked.